All right. Okay, we ready? I'll cruise through the um through where we are in status because I always like to keep you all up to date. We have a ton going on right now. And you're gonna see here we have a lot in UAT. Hopefully, folks are participating in that. I think Laura has one in services that she's digging through those comments now. I have a few folks in EPL training plan renewal, and I'm looking through those comments. Um, we had a recommendations that was yesterday. This is going to be coming up. My fault. We have a recommendations for you all. Um, that's coming up next week. Can't even edit this for some reason. Okay, that's going to be I believe what's next week? 325. Laura, are you on? I don't know if she's on. Kelly, is it 325? Or is it three? Yeah, 325, right? Yeah.
Yep, I believe so.
Is our next one there. So 325, that starts 326. So are you folks, I think,
Oh
outcomes
wait, are you kicking a new one off on the 18th? Is that right?
18th. I'm sorry.
18th.
No, I think it's the 18th. Yeah. Recommendations 18th. Okay. Credentials outcomes today, follow-up transition today, follow-up exit summary today, occurrence or activity today. So we'll have a full load today. I'm going to walk through all that. This is ongoing. This is also ongoing for some because it's really on ETPL coordinators. And then there's a few administrators at the state level that are going through these right now. We have current discovery going on with, we still have some user management roles, work we're doing, concurrent programs, referral integration, which is going to be really nice for all of you. There's a referral system that's being built and being piloted and being worked on. Kelly's kind of leading that UAT and pilot up, and we're integrating that, of course, into IWDS 2.0. So that integration is going on, that discussion. Service Finder upgrades, along with ETP upgrades, CCWP migrations, those are all um, in discovery requirements work. Development, we're touching up training program renewal process. That should be pretty much complete. And then there's a bunch of stuff here, including landing page, accessibility, migrations, application document, interest profiler, follow-up, recommended services, and a really cool feature, a customer overview page, which will be into UAT, I think on 325. So I just wanted to, that's all going on right now. And then today, I'll be showing you this release 15. And then we might follow up on any questions. But we're going to make sure we give you guys full chance because I believe 319 is the ending of the UATs that are open for services and the folks that are in ETPL coordinators. Okay. Kelly, you got any other kickoff stuff that we need to talk about before I get into UAT?
I don't believe so. The biggest thing is just those ones we introduced last week. Those are due 319. So, and there's a small group of people that are also testing like some ETPL things. So those are both due 319.
Right. And that's that, you put your comments in the UAT notebook. In fact, when I get over there, I'll show you those two other sections. All right. Excited about showing you these new features and we'll get into it. And I'll try to keep my eyes on the chat. Let me make sure I get that chat window up on my side so I can see um, if somebody has questions there. If you raise your hand, we'll stop and answer too. And feel free to comments and questions like always. You guys always give us some good feedback and we appreciate that. Let me open this up a little bit more over here on my chat window. Um, Yeah, Rory, that's go. You got all the way to the 19th to do that. Let me make sure we got enough room here. Okay. All right. I'm going to start with the UAT release guide. You'll get a link to this. And it has, of course, at the top, these are very familiar. We have the contents, tells what the expectations are for the release and what feature sets we're going over. And it should be pretty detailed in steps on how to get through and some screenshots and images of what you expect to see when you're in there. Of course, when you pick up different customers, they're going to have a little bit different plans. But don't worry about that. I think that's important that you get a good feel for those. Um, so that's the purpose, customer outcomes, credentials page, follow-up area, transition page, exit summary page, and occurrences and activity page. All those. Understand the customers you're assigned. I'm not assigning customers on this. I'm just going to, because I don't think we have to. I think UAT, you'll be able to find everything you need. And it's okay to use other ones. Which ones you want? I'll show you some of those. But when you do that, they're not transitioned or exited. So I'm going to show you kind of how to mess around with that. Obviously, there's a time issue here. So in order to mess around with that a little bit on the exit dates, we have to change the last service date. And I'll show you how to do that. And so it's a little bit faking it compared to real life scenarios with customers because we can't manipulate time. I wish I could, but I can't. So I'll show you how to do that. And then this is tells you kind of the major areas, credentials page, and then transition page, exit summary, and occurrences and activity. This will be, I believe, 329. I think this is right. Thursday, 329 is the end of that one, about 10 days after the ones that are in there now. So quite a bit of time. Here in this document, as always, we have access to the UAT environment. You'll get it requested to go through the iLogin. Once you get through that and come back to the UAT environment, you will have full access. You won't be, almost completely full access. So that's not the way it's going to be in production, but we want you to get through all these features as easy as you can and no restrictions. Reporting issues. If you report issues, comments, requests, you think this is a bug, hopefully you don't find bugs, misunderstandings, anything like that, you'll report it in our UAT release 15 notebook. That's this notebook, which you've seen a lot of if you've been in UAT already, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. Always log your entries, document as much information as you can in that notebook, put screenshots, be concise and detailed though, and make sure if you can, if you're using some kind of off browser or something that you think, and you don't have to tell us that all the time on the browser, just if you think that may be an issue, okay? Please contact any of us if you get problems with logging in or you get problems with accessing, and I don't even have Kelly on here. I don't know why, but she's the number one contact. Expectations, test thoroughly, detail, think as a user, think as a career planner in these situations. These will be career planner situations. Feedback categories, we're going to manage those categories. You put the issue in however you want it. We'll tell you if it's a bug, an issue, or enhancement. Bugs, the system's not working as we expected it, or we wrote the requirements with you guys. Issues, it's performing as the requirements say, but it's now that you see it, it's like, wow, that's a little bit strange or difficult, or it would be easier or whatever. And then enhancements say, hey, I like this, but it'd be really cool as if XYZ. We'll get to enhancements someday, hopefully. Right now, we're going to definitely manage those bugs and issues tightly. When I look through those, um, I will come back if it's a bug or an issue that we'll put a story um, into our what we call DevOps. It's our case management, so to speak. We will put that in there, and I'll put that number back in there. So otherwise, it could be an explanation that I give. I'll put mine in red with my initials, my initials and the date that I looked at it. I may just say, hey, I'm going to look into this more, or I'm going to get back to you, or I may ask you for more information. Um, I'm not expecting you to keep scouring that thing. So if it's really something I don't understand, I may email you. That's important too. I can make the screen, yeah, definitely make the screen bigger. How's that? Does that look better? Okay. This particular UAT guide, I put a little like background. Hopefully it's background that makes sense, but I put a little bit more background in it. Credentials gets a little interesting and exiting gets in very interesting. Okay. So I put a little background. Basically the system's built on this, you know, policy or whatever. This is not policy, but I'm just saying this is why we're doing this. So it talks about customer credentials and how they're, core performance indicators. It talks about that right here. It might just be a nice paragraph to read before you get into the credentials part. It gives some examples of licenses, certifications, diplomas, those kinds of things. So when you get into actually adding a credential, it may refresh your memory on why, but I'm sure most of you know way more than I do. The second part of the document explanation is the program exit determination across adult, dislocated worker, and youth programs. Obviously, there's some nuances between the adult dislocated worker and then the youth. But it talks about the exit and the system auto exiting in 90 days after the last service end date. You'll get to see that in transition. And then some performance outcome measures. So just so you kind of refresh your memory, I always have to, believe it or not, I read this all the time to make sure I'm not following. This is post-exit follow-up services, co-enrollment complexity. Of course, if you're adult versus youth and all that, and if you get your employment goal, your goal employment before exit, the follow-up can start with that adult. Okay, step-by-step guide starts here. Okay, I'm just going to kind of briefly scroll through this because I'm going to give you a step-by-step tour. But this talks about navigating to the customer and an open application. So how we get to access a customer from the system once you get in, and then how you access that application here with this view. Okay, we'll show you that. Then the first part of it is customer outcome credentials. This right here, it shows how you can get there a couple ways. One is through the quick links on the left-hand navigation panel. And the other one is through selecting what area do you want to work in. So here you got kind of both ways. You can go credentials straight into credentials, or you can select outcomes, and since it is the first tab, it will default there, but you'll get to the credentials. When you got a customer, most of your customers that you might try won't have any credentials. This little row in here will be not there, but then you just start adding credentials right here. Talks about what we're capturing, how to add a credential. It goes through here, it gives you every page, every screenshot that you would use to add this credential. There's a couple cases. One is if you're add a credential that's tied to a customer's training service. Okay. The other one is if it's not. And then it talks about editing it. Just briefly, it talks about that and talks about deleting a credential if it's wrong or it's not incorrectly added or you don't have verification or anything like that. The second part we're going to go through is the follow-up and transition part. Once again, there's two ways to get to that. One's from selecting either follow-up or transition. This takes you to the area, and this is the first tab, second tab, third tab. So these are the quick links to take you right there. The other way, of course, is selecting the follow-up from the area and then getting to the tab. This is the start of the transition. There's 3 sections of that. Top section gives you information, general information about what's going on with this particular customer's life cycle in our programs. The second one is the career planner checklist, and it allows you to check and reminds you to check things off as you are in that transition period. And then once the transition process is complete, it shows this transition reason. And then you can also check right here if they're employed at transition or they're in education in transition. That's the transition page. The second area we're going to look at is the follow-up exit summary page, which will look very familiar to those that look at the follow-up exit summary page in IWDS 1.0. There wasn't a whole lot to change on here, except you can bounce between education enrollment and back to here. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. That's kind of a page to just kind of follow along and make sure the wages are validated and all those kinds of things. The second one is the current or activity page layout. And this is the way this is laid out. You won't see these 2 lines in that button today. Those are being worked on. And then it talks about the top part of that page. It talks about the grid, which would look more like this now. It talks about adding a follow-up activity, and all this page, which should help you with that process. At the bottom of that page is this half, which you can update employment, education, or credentials. It might be a credential that didn't get tracked until you got documentation for it or something. It talks all about that page here, and that's the end of that UAT guide. We're going to do every piece of this today, and then you can just go crazy and play around with it. Okay? So before I go to the next piece, before I go to the system, I'm going to go to the UAT guide. Okay. UAT notebook. All right. Make sure, hopefully we have the link correctly in there. Sometimes when you hit that link, it might go to somewhere else. We are in release 15. Release 15, okay? Yes, outcomes is available in UAT, and I can show you that. That's where credentials is. That's where employment, education, and MSGs are. We're going to do the credential piece, okay? And then when you get to 15, if you can, check in. This is just put your name and date in there. Any overall general comments that aren't specific, like to a spot, or if you wanted to throw your browser name in there too, Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari, just throw it in there if you want to, if you feel like it, if you remember it. It helps us if we see a problem down below. Outcomes credentials section is here. This is just basically, this is what it kind of looks like. So you kind of know, you see outcomes, you see credentials, just so you say, okay, yeah, I'm in the right place. There's nothing special about that. Start right here and, you know, add comments here and below. Follow up transition page, transition, follow up. You can click right into it here, or you can go follow up and transition. We'll go through this whole page. This is the top, the center, and the bottom sections. Exit summary, right here, which should match what you saw in the guide. Occurrence, here's your occurrences page, occurrence or activity. And so there's a couple pages here. There's one that shows the grid, and then there's one this is edit or add. And then there's a view also I'll show you. Okay, so those are the 4 feature set areas that we want you to log your issues in, or your anything you want, what you're thinking about it, and hopefully this works for you. Okay. All right, let me go here. This is going to look a little different, probably. Maybe it looked like this last week. I think it might have in services, but there is a kind of a mock-up of what this landing page is going to eventually look like for career planners. This is not functional yet, but this is just starting into, so just in the future, Lynette's working on this with everybody. You will see something like this when you actually log in and get to the home. So if I go, this is the home, I'll get to this. So like if I was over in customers, it's where we're going to go. This is home. So if I go log in and come back to here, it'll come default to here. And we're fixing this up for you to be kind of your home base for Career Planner. Okay. So the first thing is navigating to a customer. We're going to go to customers right off the top menu. There are 3 tabs on customers. There's a panel over here, which is a search panel that allows you to search for customers using all these different types of attributes. You can also page through those customers if you want. There are 71 customers in here. If you notice, there's a number of applications sitting right here. You do not want to try to use one that has no application like these 2 here. You won't get very far because you need to open the application to be able to get to outcomes and transition. Okay. So you'll definitely want to use one that has an application. So most of these do, I believe you'll see on here as you go through, most of them do. Some of them don't because we added them in later. So don't be afraid to go through. This goes to the next page. And then next page. Now, of course, the page, the number of pages is got to do with the entries. So right now there's 7 because, or 8 pages because this is set to 10. If I set this to go to 50, then I would just have 2 pages, one with 50 and the other with 21. And they would scroll. Okay, if I wanted 25 on there, that's how that works. I'm sure you're very familiar with paging. Now there's 3 pages. It's still the same set. Okay, so just because for some reason I'm lazy about setting that differently, I'm going to set it this way because I can go look. So I'm going to mess around. I think I'll be safe to mess around with an individual Carter Doyle. This is what I was working in yesterday when I was demonstrating all this. So I just selected that. Hopefully everybody saw that. I went in and selected Carter Doyle. And how did I select that? To view that, remember I just couldn't click the last name. Okay. Up at the top, and this page is going to change some. It's going to morph into a little bit differently. But so for right now, don't get frustrated if it looks a little busy or you can't find things. But what you're looking for here is the application. And right here, buried in here right now, is this applications section right here. And inside of there, you'll find an application and just be cognizant or pay attention right here. You'll see the subprogram, adult and youth. And don't worry about our application dates and all those kinds of things. Don't worry about a career planner right now, but just look, that's the name, and that's the name that was used at the time for this customer when that application became eligible or certified or whatever. And then also, and we're going to go into this right here, but also at the top, you'll see a quick view of this customer and how to contact them. And when you get into the application, so the first thing you're gonna do is select the application. Now I'm into the application or program, profile, or context. And when I do that, I get the quick links on the side, okay? So like I said, there's 2 ways to get to credentials in the outcomes area. One is you can use this over here and hit credentials, and it'll go straight to credentials and the outcomes area will be set up, okay? And somebody asked me if that was, yes, you have to click the eye icon in order to view that. Okay. So And then I'm going to go back to the customer profile because I want to show you the other way. Yep, the eye icon is right here. If you're trying to figure out what's going on, you'll see the eye. We use the eye consistently throughout the application to view something. You'll see a little pencil edit to edit something. And I'll show you some of those. You'll see potentially a delete trash can, and that you'll actually see that on credentials. Okay, so the other way is to go here and select outcomes on this, and then credentials. It so happens that credentials is the first tab, so it defaults to the first tab. But that's if you got off somehow and you saw this, you'd say, well, what happened to my credentials? It's right there. Okay. All right. Let's add a credential. That's the first thing we're gonna do, and then we'll be able to view and edit it and go through that. Okay. So after I've gotten into here, I'm going to, on this outcomes section, I'm going to add a credential, and I hit that button. Okay. Now, are you adding a credential that is tied to a customer's training service? Yes or no? Okay. If it was tied to a customer's training service and that training service was complete, I think we're going to add that credential automatically, but there will be some finishing up to do because we had to add documentation. So everybody, we had a discussion about that yesterday. So right now I'm going to say yes. And I'm there. Okay. So in order to get the providing entity, we would want that to be from our provider list, obviously. So when you go in here, we don't have a lot of training programs in this UAT. I'll probably add some more in the next few days just so it will help you out. But when you touch into this providing entity, it will do a search on the ETPL to find the providers that potentially provide you. So I know that we have Lincoln Land Community College. As you saw, that's how that came in. And I know that they have a training program and it's accounting. Okay. Okay. Don't worry about this data being bad. It's just, I can tell you right now, you can use Lincoln Land Community College, and I can put that in the guide, and you can have an accounting program. And if we looked at that program, it would be, I think, a bachelor's program. So were any other credentials earned as part of the training service? No other ones. Okay. So we're taking the credentials right off. So if I take the credentials right off the training plan, then it'll add that a bachelor degree. There could be additional ones besides that, but I'm going to do that and save, and it didn't show up. Uh-oh. Okay, let me do it again. I'm going to go here. Select this. I'm going to do the yes for now. Just because for some reason it didn't save it, maybe didn't pull it from the training plan. So now I'll figure out what's wrong there. But I'm going to say it was, and then here, because I want to show you this anyway. Here you upload the file. Okay, doesn't matter what you upload, but this is the uploading the file to the source documentation for that credential, and we save it. Hopefully this will come in. Okay, and it did. Okay, so it looks like no other ones needs to be worked on, and I'll see what that is. Okay, so now that I got a row in here, and I could add more of these credentials. Okay, in fact, we're going to add one that's not. When it's not, we say okay. I'm going to provide one that is Project Management Institute. And this is not one that's in our ETPL, PMI. And actually I'm going to do PMP. And then I'm going to say credential type. And I could pick credential, industry recognized certificate, certificate of completion, license recognized, associate degree, institution. I think it is, I think it's this. Okay. Fund source. I'm going to read this note here real quick. And the IDS 2.0 play, will the credential being added be connected to the training program? Yes. Okay. If you said back there, you selected that, it would be added from 2.0 ETPL. Okay. And then I'm going to say this was personally funded. And then I'm going to say they attained this whenever they attained it back here. And then I'm going to put up that certificate and I'm going to save it. And I'm going to put a project management professional. Okay. All right. So you see two different credentials here. One would have been straight from the training program that was provided by service, and the other was from uh, the PMI. Okay. I didn't even select, by the way, that this was a Bachelor of Science in Accounting. That came from the training program. Okay. And this one here, I just was totally outside, earned by the individual. And evidently I didn't select that it was recognized. I'm not even sure if that is, it possibly is. But I can show you how we can do that with an edit. Okay. The three icons right here. MSGs are entered over here. We're going to do another UAT on MSGs. And Andy's working on some of that right now. We can do MSGs right now, but that's getting upgraded. So there's going to be a UAT on MSGs. The only UATs we've done so far is employment, education, and now credentials. Okay. In here, you have the view icon. I know they're small. Edit icon and a delete icon. We're going to go in here and edit this one. Actually, I'm going to view this one. When you get into view, it's pretty much the same window modal, but it's just got it in gray. You can't edit anything here. It's just kind of the view mode. You can download the source documentation and look at it. When you're in edit mode, I'm going to edit this one. You can edit this information. You can also upload other documentation. Okay. And then it becomes edited. Okay. And that is basically everything about adding your credential. In UAT, I realize there aren't a lot of providers and programs in the test system yet, but what if there is a training program that has within that program's description in IWDS more than one credential included, for example, but we're going to bring those in from the training program. Now, I'm still going to talk to folks about how they're not going to be completely hands off because we're going to have documentation with those credentials, I'm pretty sure. So, and also if I understand this right, if just because we finished the program, the training program, does not mean we earned the credentials. So we can do quite a bit with the system automatically, but we can't completely take care of those credentials for you with the information we have from the service being closed for training.
No, that's okay. It's just something to make a note of.
Yep.
Again,
Yep.
we're
We will
going
bring if there's two or three,
our
we'll bring
staff are going to be learning this just to make sure they know because, and apologies, I've drawn a blank. I can't remember back when we were testing, creating a training program and an entity and a provider. I thought, I didn't know I know there was discussion about if there would be more additional fields, but does it only allow us, like in the course description text box where it says, this course will take you through the journey of becoming a patient care technician, CNA and EKG phlebotomy. It'll tell you in the description that it's going to provide the student with those credentials. But in the field where in the training program, just information screen where you were like specifically list credentials, I couldn't remember if it only lets you list one.
No, let me
enter
good
one
question.
or not, and so or multiple ones. So it's just something to keep in mind. I want to make sure I keep in mind to again, so when it comes down the road when we're training staff, just let them know like, hey, if there's only room for one to be imported, you may have to go back in and add the other ones, manual just how we do
No,
it now, so it's not a big deal.
It'll do all the ones I'll show you. I'm going to bounce over to that specific training program here in a second and show you where those are can be added as outcomes to the training program, and
Oh,
then
great.
it'll bring them in as individual credentials, and then each of those they'll have to be validated. Okay, so but I'll show you
Oh,
that in a
right.
second here. Okay,
Oh, okay. So this one,
yeah, I'm going to
because
show
that
you that.
program,
Yep, I'm going to
because
show you
the
that.
program at Lincoln Land that you selected, because that only
Yeah, I
has
only
one.
put one in there. I only put the BA in
Oh,
there. I didn't
okay.
put
I thought
anything else.
there was a limit. My bad.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'll show you that in a second. Okay, but I'm going to answer these two questions first. Just question to hear. Okay, deleting a credential or an MSG. We're on credentials right now. We'll have to see. Everything in the system right now is wide open in UAT. Okay, just want everybody to know that because your role is basically you can do anything. But we'll have to see when I look at, or we all look at those roles and permissions when that gets all flushed out to see what we're going to do. Also, the delete, yeah, so I could delete this right here right now, but it may be role controlled. Okay, the second thing is we do have to have a way though, if somebody enters a credential or a credential comes from a training program that you say, nope, they did not get that credential, that we can remove it from this because we definitely don't want to put performance reporting on credentials that really they didn't attain, right? So it's kind of the good and the bad and the ugly. If we automate the system to bring in credentials for you from a training program that's closed, we still have to get those verified. And if one or more of those credentials, it could be 5 credentials, I don't know. If one or more of those were not attained in that training program, then you'd be able to remove them. So we'll see what the implications like when you can remove them. Can you remove them, obviously before exit or whatever? Yeah, or not after exit. So those kinds of things, we will definitely talk more about how that delete can be used. All right, when the credentials be tied to the ETPL for inclusion in all student report used to evaluate the training providers. Yes, credentials are tied to performance numbers, and as you guys have heard and are already thinking about, the providers have to give us performance numbers, which also show all the outcomes for their students, and we'll know we'll know how that program is doing. Of course, it's kind of independent of this process right here because we're going to get the import the spreadsheets and get those numbers from those spreadsheets and store them in our system, so we'll know every program how performant it is. But yeah, that's a good point. Now I'm going to flip over here real quick. This is not part of the UAT, but I want to just come over here so we can kind of take a look at that Lincoln Land accounting. And trust me, I put very minimal information in this training program just to get it in here. But you'll see this accounting program, active program accounting, that I put in here. And you'll see, Rory, there's an outcomes right here. And there is, well, I said there's an outcomes right here, but I don't even know how to got the bachelor's. Oh, yeah, I don't even know how I got the bachelor's right now, but you can add as many, if we were editing this is actually live, whatever. So I can't edit it right now, but if we were editing a new one or whatever, we could add in this list as many outcomes as we wanted. Okay. So, and those could be WIOA or non-WIOA recognized outcomes, but they show up in this area right here when that program is defined. So, and we can bring those over. I'm not exactly even sure how that particular outcome came onto our list, unless it came from this program here. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look and see how they came on our list, or that other type, maybe it shows something in there, but that's where we'll pull those outcomes from the training programs automatically. Okay.
So,
All right.
Al,
Go
let me
ahead.
ask you a quick question. How you write here? So with that accounting thing, did it get transferred over from one of these participants when you did the outcome? Or will we have to put that information in their
You don't have to
performance?
put that, you won't have to put all that information in there. It'll show up as a credential on there when they complete the service, the training service. It'll show up. So when you go to that outcomes, if they completed that service already, okay,
Right.
I didn't even have a service tied to that training program, so it wasn't really, that was not really too legitimate. But if I would have had a service, let's kind of bounce through there because services are already in UAT, so I can do that. Let me go back here. Hopefully I won't confuse anybody, but let me go back to Doyle and let me pick up this here. So if I go over here to the plan, and if I saw in the plan that I had, say, and you can see it's not there, but if I had a training service here and that training service was tied to that training program, right? And they
Okay, because I
completed
know
that
when I
training
see
service.
you pulled that just now, that person was just an applicant. Because if it had showed up, I'm like, it shouldn't show up on a under applicant status, more of a registrant
Yeah, yeah,
status.
yeah, yeah. That's bad. That's just, yeah, that's all data. We threw all these applications or applicant. You will not, that would be under a registered, obviously. And this data is not far enough along, some of it. So there's a few things you can do right now in UAT that you'll never be able to do in production, but we kind of got to get it open up enough for you to look at these features. So sorry if it's confusing a little bit, but um, you're correct. You're correct. It wouldn't be, the state of the application wouldn't be applicant and or the customer. And you would also see, in order to pull that across, you'd see that service here um, uh, in here, and it's not in here. This is the training plan, by the way, and it's not. This is the career plan, by the way, and this is not. That service is not here.
So basically,
Okay.
it would show up once you enroll them into the
Yes.
system.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that would show up, and then also, then when it gets completed, then this would automatically show up here, and you'd be, oh, okay, that came over, and then you would have to. We probably set these to no at first, and then until I'm going to go back
You download it into
until
the
somebody
system.
uploaded the
Right.
information.
Okay.
You
Good.
see what I'm saying? And so it would show up here, and you're like, okay, we probably wouldn't have a date attained even because we don't know, because the date the service is over has nothing specifically to do with the date attained, right? A lot of times you don't know. You hear about it and then we don't know about the certificate or whatever. And then, or the diploma or whatever. And then you'd get a chance to upload it. So this would not be recognized until, some edits happened and you would edit it, but it would show up here, okay, after you were done. And then, like I said, maybe there was that, and in the nursing, there's probably a test and a certification that has to be passed. And maybe both of those, maybe that is part of the program, or it maybe not part of the program, but say it is part of the program, those both would come over. But if this one may be good to go, but this one may not, the certification or whatever, license or whatever, may not be done yet. So in that case, it can't be counted until there's documentation that says it's counted. So that's a case where, say, you would have a program, there'd be two pieces to it, maybe two credentials to it, and one of them would be complete and one of them wouldn't be complete yet. Okay.
So they
And
completed
maybe
it.
that second
And also, let
credential,
me ask you that, how you got that Bachelor of Science, right? Would it automatically be go into the measurable skill game as something that was completed, or would that
yes, and
be
also an
something
MSP.
where we had to do it? If it would be automatically updated, that would be good. It saved the career specialist an extra step up making sure to get done. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, we're going to do the MSGs too, as many as we can. Put those over there also, and try to get them as complete as we can from the system perspective when it sees these things happening. Okay.
Great.
So that's going to be also when we over here. Those are going to show up in here. Those measure as you go along. Now you're going to measurable skills, right? Are probably at least once like a month or 2 months or whatever it is. I don't know if it's once a month, but there's a rule there of how, there should be an MSG if you're in a training program. You've learned something, you've got some gained skills, maybe some test scores, something, I don't know.
Minimum of one a year, Al.
Is this 1 year? Oh,
One a year is the minimum. We're supposed to get as many as we can.
okay. Okay,
Exactly.
so
I
1
was
year.
wondering when you said 30 days, I'm like, huh?
Well, I don't know what those are, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think you're talking to them every 30 days, though.
Oh yeah, you should be, but
Right.
you know,
So
depending on your
it's like,
local
hey,
area, you could be every quarter as
right,
well too.
right. So what's kind of nice if you're talking to me, you said, hey, how's the classes going on? Have you done anything? Have you learned anything lately? Oh yeah. You got a test score? Thanks. Give it to me. I'll put it up there. You could get that done really easily if you just when you talk to them. But anyway, because you got to remember that you're right, it's a year, and if you go across the program year, you got to make sure you get that in there before you go to the next program year. So okay, so that's how measurable, or I'm sorry, credentials are added, managed. Some of them come over automatic. Some of them are outside of the services that we have given the customer, right? Some of them are outside. Like I showed, this one is kind of outside. They just went and got it. So that's the concept there. Okay, let me move over to a little bit different subject, which is transitioning, follow-up, transition, exit, summary, and occurrences. Okay, the second part of this is we're cruising along and we're getting close to this person meeting their goals and exiting this program, but they haven't exited the program. So we've kind of done everything for them we can do for them, or they're getting close to being done. And that gets you to this transition area. Okay. I'm going to go through, you can just pop over to here if you're in this area, but I'm going to go back and show you so you don't, so you have a couple ways of knowing. So if I'm in the application, and don't freak out about dates and all those kinds of statuses because some of those are not going to follow up to. Okay, so this is the follow-up area. This is the transition tab, exit summary, occurrences. You could go this way to follow up, okay? Or you can go here and go straight to transition. There's our transition tab. Okay, transition. All right, there's 3 sections on the transition tab: general transition information, career planning checklist, and transition process. Okay. You can also bump between those three sections this way. Obviously, you can see they're all on the screen, but if I had a screen that was a lot smaller, you might not see them all. Okay. And you might want to go to it that way. Or you can just scroll. That's all that's for. Nothing big there. Okay. I'm going to open this up, but I'm going to close this down to just focus on the first part. All right, here's your top part. In the top part of the transition, this is not set right. It's probably 20, if that's what that is. But anyway, there's just default dummy data. But you'll see the LWIA, okay, the office. This is who's servicing this, the career planner assigned, okay. The last communication date comes from case notes or follow up and occurrence. And I'll show you follow up and occurrence in a minute. The last service end date right here. The last service received, days remaining until exit, and then 90 days after last service date. Okay. Now, say, well, I don't see anything. Well, let's go set something here so you see. Okay. So I'm going to go over here to the career plan. I'm going to go to plan, and I can set some of these up for everyone, but let's go in here. There happens to be a service here. I'm going to look at this service. I'm going to edit it real quick. And just for the purposes of me doing this, I'm going to say this is completed. And I'm going to start this. In January 5th, and I'm going to end this particular service. Right now, I'm going to end it in February 25th, and I'm going to save that. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to transition. All right. Now you see this transition area tracks the last service end date, which was 2/25. Okay. The last service that we received, so the service we're pulling that off of was the labor market information. The days remaining until exit right now would be set at 75. And then 90 days after the last service is 526. So this is the auto exit time. And of course the exit date, if it auto exited this time and we didn't have any more services, the auto would be 225, right? And then just a little note here that the system automatically executes that exit on 6/5. There's a little bit of a buffer space because if you had a service that you added on 5/26, 5/25, and you didn't get that into the system until a few days later, it wouldn't have already exited that person until 6/5. So that's what that means for all career planners or anyone that's dealing with this, just so you know. Okay. Yes.
Question.
Hold on a
So,
minute. Hold on.
so
Let
we
me
getting
answer.
rid of the 120 days exit limit.
That is.
No, that's not 120 days.
110. I think it's 110, right?
Yeah, 110, but
Yeah, go ahead with the but, and then I'll answer this other question.
Yeah, I would just, because I know we had like the 120, 90 days, and then you had another 30 days, 90 days to get them back into some type of service. If not, the system are going to automatically exit them at 120 days.
Yeah,
But
the
seems
rule
like
the rule I
it's being
have is
changed
the rule I have
now.
is 110 or 100 or whatever that is. 90 days plus 10.
So it's going to be 10 now. Okay, that's good.
I think it's 9 days plus 10. It's just two. I think it's, and I'll
No,
make sure.
it's 120. It's
Yeah, it'll be in
120.
policy, but I'll make sure of that. I don't know if anyone's on here from the state, but that's the dates they gave me. Okay, so
Yeah, yeah, I think right now we're at 120, but it's changing, going down to 100, right?
okay, all right.
Good. That's
thank
good.
you. Appreciate it. Okay, all right. So that's just wanted you to kind of know what that means when you see that. So it kind of gives you a couple dates there to look at. This tells you how many days from this service date until
Okay,
this
another
date.
question then. How you bringing this thing up? Sometimes people leave certain activity open because some activity is same day, some of them is not. If one of those activities is still open, does something register and say, hey, this service hasn't been did nothing for the last 6 to 8 months? Will the
Yeah.
system
Yeah, that
recognize
dash,
that?
you bet. There's two places, but the main place is that dashboard. It's going to tell you all those customers that you are managing, right? That, haven't had a service for a while, but there's open services and all kinds of stuff like that. So you'll get that on the dashboard.
Gotcha.
That
Okay.
dashboard, meaning that home page I showed you a while ago.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just want to double check
Yep,
because I
yep,
like the idea that the system going to automatically exit them.
yep.
And if they automatically exit them, how unemployment sometimes upload that a participant is employed, would it grab that employment information and exit them? If there's no
Yeah,
no
well,
employment information, would it just be like a negative exit?
we talked about that yesterday, the employment information. So we're going to have, right now it doesn't have it, but for the employment records that we have in here, there's going to be a switch to say, yeah, this is the goal-based employment, right? So that we don't pick up some employment that really is like part-time employment or not have anything to do with the goal. So, and then we can start counting the days on that for, and I'll get over to the occurrences and activity work and all the exit summary. So we are going to do that, but we're going to have to mark that employment as the employment that meets the goal, because just an employment record doesn't mean anything. It could be part-time employment, or it could be insufficient employment to really keep them going. So that is going to be considered. Um, um, yes, I guess I did answer that. Yes, David Taylor, we will. Transition tab. We have in the home screen dashboard, it's going to show you that list of clients in transition. Okay, that's confirming. And question, is a customer decide to return to service on day 101? Does that process of receiving services have to start all over again? Is there a time period? Well, if they received a service, as far as I know, it starts over in the 90-day clock. It's 101, no, I think it would be, the service has to be,
It should be before it. You can't go
it
past
should be
that.
before the 90 days. The service should have been entered and open before the 90 days. The 10
Al,
days. Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
can I clarify that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
sometimes customers will come back to the office and say, oh yeah, you know, whatever happened, they want to come back and get services, but by this time they've already been closed out. So is it a way to, will it be a way to reopen that application, or would they have to start the process all over again?
No, we're in discussions that yesterday of exactly how that's going to work. If it's
Okay.
just you get that service in before
Right.
the 110 or 100, right?
Yep.
Or the 90 or whatever, so that may do it, and we may handle that all through monitoring. Okay. Or we may do it more closer to escalation process like we do today, but like, where you open them up. I think that they're leaning towards that. This is one of the questions we actually had yesterday too. They're leaning towards more of, if it's, legitimate and all those kinds of things, then it should be handled by monitoring if it gets in a bad position. So, okay, so that's kind of a, policy decisions. Obviously, the system will be able to handle what you guys decide to do, but kind of keep your ear on that, okay? Because we'll have more on that, okay? And
Thank
definitely
you.
more on policy and training and all that kind of stuff.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, second part of this is the checklist. I believe yesterday we had a different name for this. I think it's, in fact, I got that written down. It's going to be called a transition checklist, not a career planning checklist. It's going to be called a transition checklist. Just a small nomenclature because somewhere else there's a career planning checklist. So we just want to make sure it's not confusing. That'll say transition checklist. But what basically in here, we store these check boxes. Basically, it's for you to say, yep, I've checked all the credentials or not. We will track, we'll go grab, as you know, I put those credentials in. So this is the latest credential, kind of to say, oh, the last one we had was 3 months ago. And I know they're finishing up a training program. So I wonder why we don't have a later date. Okay. And if you question that by looking at this, because we'll pull all this stuff in. If we had an MSG, it would give you the last date. If we had an employment, it would give you the last date. Education enrollment, it would give you the last date here. Goals and objectives closed. We'll probably put a number that are open here. But this is really the career planner's kind of checklist and transition. And if you think something is not right, like 310, that doesn't look right, you just hit this little link button right here, and it'll take you right to credentials, right? And you can look at those 310. Oh, that I see now. This was 29, this is 310. Okay, I'm missing a credential or not. And if it's right and you like the way it looks or whatever, you can go right, click that button and go right back to where you were. Okay, so it's just a way for you to kind of evaluate this whole what's going on in transition. And this would take you directly to MSGs. Why don't I have MSGs? Okay, it would take you right there. You could actually add them, okay, right then, and you could go back to transition right after that. Same with employment. Why don't I have employment? It would be right in this list. I don't have any on this particular customer. And then, of course, education enrollment is the same way. You may not have any. You may say, yep, that's fine. And then goals, objectives, are they open or not? And that's how you do that. So this is just your check here. Yes, you can assume that you can if policy allows it. Transition process. Was there something on that?
I was just gonna say, so transition is instead of exit, is that
It's not exited yet. because we
Okay.
have to hit the exit date. See, we still have 75 days, right?
All
But
right,
it's kind of just getting this case ready to exit, right? It's saying, hey, let's keep our eyes on this because they're in transition. In other words, there's no other services that are open in this case, right? We closed our last service on 2/25.
got it.
And so, hey, we need to keep an eye on this and make sure we're making sure everything's in there. Are we talking to them and getting the credentials? Make sure we got that last MSG if we need it, make sure of all those things. Did they get employed? It would show up. In fact, if you went over there and you guys can do this, if you went over there and add an employment record, every one of these pieces are available right now. If you add any of those records in here into this career plan and this life cycle outcomes, it will show up here. Okay. So it's kind of a working through it. Okay. Working through it. And then eventually there's going to be a transition reason. And this will set automatically if there's nothing else and it's not excluded. Like here's some stuff, as you all know, okay, we're exiting because they're incarcerated or exiting because there's a death or these are that list of exits because it's like we're automatically transitioning them to exit because these things happen. Normally it's going to the system's going to set this for you. And then in here, you can go in and if the customer is employed at transition, okay, you could actually, let's go ahead and add one of those records here. I'm going to just put, I don't know. I don't even know what we got in here, but it'll look it up for you. I'm going to do this. I think this was accounting. Right there. That's an accounting firm right there. I happen to know it was there. So this person was accounting. Remember, I put him into this, got him a job here, and I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, they started that job on the 9th. Okay, no end date. And then I'm going to say they're an accountant. And I'm going to say full-time. And I'm going to say their annual salary is $65,000. And I'm going to say they work 40 hours a week. And let's say okay there. And in here, I'm going to say, what would they be doing? I don't know. Bookkeeping maybe. Okay. And I'm not going to fill those two things in. I'm going to save that. Okay. There's my employment record. I'm going to go back to transition. Okay. And I'm going to see that employment record right there. Okay. You could also add in, enrolled in education. Okay. So this is the transition to exit page. Okay. This is our exit summary. Once we get an exit date in here, this is not right. This is just garbage. But once we get an exit date in there, it's going to assume that was because you put it back in transition, it's going to pull that in for you. Once again, you can go over to those areas. If you go over to those areas and come back, it comes back to this page. And then, of course, this gets filled in over, and you notice it pulled that wage from that wage record, but we're also going to validate those wages through employment security, whatever. So this is your kind of what's the state of what's going on with my customer during exit. Okay. The next one I'm going to go to is more work. Okay. All right. In here, this is our occurrence and activity, our follow-up, and it has follow-up guidance and for adult. And so this is kind of nice because if you flip that down, it talks about follow-up services. It talks about counseling, contact individuals, the different follow-up activities you can do. And there it is for right there at the top for adult and dislocated worker. And here it is for youth. Okay. And it shows that. And then underneath this is, don't worry about these dates. They're not right. But you'll, once the exit date is determined, it will generate like, so say the exit was now, say the exit was 3/12, then April 1st through June 30th would be the first one on here. And this pre-fills 4 records here for you. And we'll go into one of those records. Now, there's going to be, and it shows it in the UAT guide, there's a button here that says add an occurrence. You can add an extra occurrence of this activity occurrence at any time, okay? And it'll add it to this grid down here, okay? And the reason I'm saying that, because you're saying, well, why would I have it? You might have another multiple ones besides the ones you just have that are required for the 4 quarters. But you might have, especially in the case of employment, if they're employed and they're adult and it's not exit yet, you won't see this here because we don't have an exit date, but you will be able to add follow-up activities during because they got their employment, okay, after their employment. Okay, so that's going to be available with this, and probably time you look at this next week, it'll be there. Okay, now what do I do with these records? Okay, these records are in here, obviously you can see. So let's say I go in and say, oh, I'm going to use this record and say it's April 1st through June 30th. And I'm going to use this record. I hit this plus button. When you see that plus button, it means it's never been nothing's been added to it. And I get this page here. I'm assuming that this particular customer is co-enrolled. I didn't look at the application. I think obviously it must be. And it shows you the different activities for the youth, and it shows you different activities for adult and dislocated worker. Okay, supportive services, adult mentoring, you can do this, workplace counseling, whatever. So now the first thing in here is you can start these records out, and I'll show you that too, because you're attempting. I want to track the times I attempt to do this, right? So I'm going to just say I tried to contact through a phone call, left a voicemail right here, and it'll track the contact attempts. But I didn't have a two-way contact, so I'm just tracking that, and and I saved that. So I thought I could save it, but and it should allow me to save that record, and it'll just allow me to do that. But let's say I come in and I get in and I do get contact on the 11th, phone, talked with the customer, just whatever you want to say. And then I said, did I get done when I wanted? Yep, I had two-way discussion on the 11th. And did I get done what I wanted to get done? Yeah, I did. I completed that. I said, it's completed on the 11th. And I did a couple things here. This is still ongoing because ongoing means across multiple quarters, right? If there's an opt-out, I think somebody, I don't know if it's youth or somebody, or if there's unable to locate, we'd have to hit that, and it would allow us to stop that reporting in the second, third, and fourth quarters. Right now, we're ongoing because we're getting contact and we're following up with them. I could set employment, education, or other credential records. I could jump right to those. I'm not going to. I'm going to go ahead and save this record. And it put that information in here that I just said. So I did this counseling activities, it pulled that first one. It completed it here. We're ongoing for a position of follow-up status. This particular contact status is complete. We had 2 attempts. And then if I want to view that, I could go and just view it right here and view what that was. I could edit it again, or I could come back to follow up. Okay. I'm sure, going out through here. that's going to be interesting to play with. So follow-up activity also show on the case notes. No, the follow-up activity is right here, tracked all in here. You actually have notes in here. Also, right. Well, if I would have shown that. Right here is the notes on the activity. So these are notes. Now we could pull those in our reports though. And we can see those.
So you won't need
No,
to.
that's a good
Case notes, you'll just record it in the follow-up screen.
Yep,
Is that
yep,
what you're saying?
yep, and we'll be able to pull that if we have a case notes report or whatever. You don't have to jump over to case notes or anything. Does it only allow you screen? No, it's not supposed to. It did just then in front of you. You saw the hand was not quicker than the eye. It is supposed to allow you to add the attempts over and over and over until you decide that you're going to close that record out. You could, because this you can go view, right? And you can go edit. But you can, I think you have to add the activity. Let me go back and try that again. Let's go ahead and edit and add another attempt. Let's add another attempt, and let's say 11th, the 3rd, say the 2nd. I tried email and no response, no reply. Okay. But when we're originally do it, the whole idea is you can just add attempts until you get one done. And you can go back and edit those records, view them and edit it, update them, whatever you need to do. But the whole idea is you can track your attempts as you do them, so you don't have to think about them later and you don't have to save them somewhere or nothing like that. Is there a difference between follow? There's a difference between follow-up and processes for the purpose of performance tracking for actual versus actual follow-up service activities. Did I just hear you say that if it's marked opt out or unable to locate, the system was going to stop reporting? I believe so, but I don't know if, I mean, it's gonna, I do know that in this system right here, it's expecting these to be reported in unless this is stopped, like opt out or cannot locate. And I believe somebody could tell me that really knows policy. One of the two can opt out, not either youth or adult can opt out, but not one or the other. I thought it was youth could opt out or something on the follow-up, but I can't remember the policy on that one. I'm sorry about that. Somebody might know that. So this is where this is actually a few screens. There's like 6 screens in IWDS today, IWDS 1.0 today, that take you through this exit and occurrence or activity and transition stuff. I don't even know if there's a transition area there, but this exit summary and occurrence or activity, I think that's covered here in 2 pages, and it's like 6 pages in the end of it. Even if you locate, I'm reading your notes here, even if you locate or youth opt out, we still have to be able to track wages exactly. And this area here is trying to track wages. And these will say certified. I think it says certified, and this goes for in-state and out-of-state wages. It'll try to certify those even as we go through the quarters. All right. I would think it would be nice, helpful if follow-up notes also show up in case notes. To find the notes for follow-up takes several more screens to get to the facts. In the past, case notes told us instantly on one page. Yeah, we'll look at that. Rory, you got your hand up?
Oh yeah, you did answer that part of my question. Thank you very much. I just I didn't, I guess, word it very thoroughly. So what I meant was it looks like in the contact attempts, if you add one, it'll keep adding them in those rows. If you're when you're on back on that add follow up activity, it'll add those. But at the bottom of the screen, when you scroll down, it allowed you to save it. But I was kind of experimenting, kind of trying to follow along with another random customer I selected. But I think I figured out the answer to the question, but I just want to confirm. If you don't have on this screen, so if you go back up, if you don't have, go up a little higher. If you don't have a two-way contact date and method, those are required fields. So you can add those attempts, but
Right.
to save the screen entirely, I mean, it looks like
Yeah,
it's
we're not,
logging
and I'm not
those
gonna,
attempts,
that won't
but
be
it
that
won't
way.
save the screen
So-
entirely until you have a
Right.
two-way contact method and status. Okay.
But I'm gonna make a tweak to that because we want you to be able to log your attempts as you do them. And you might not have made two-way contact. We don't want you to have to keep track of that somewhere else, just so that you can enter this whenever you get the two-way contact. Okay, so even though it says required, it's going to be required eventually to do the complete status. Okay,
Oh,
but
I see.
if it's not, this wasn't done exactly right. This is not going to be required if it's not complete. Okay, if it's pending or it's not checked. It might have done that. I don't know for sure. I didn't try that. But because if you try pending, I can try that. Let me try that. I think maybe that was a mistake I made. And if maybe there's not a change that has to be made. Let me look here and see. Okay, let's do another one. Let's say we were in the next time frame. Let's just see if we can do this. And let's say I don't think I can do this in future, but let me try. Say we're in the next time frame. I give it right now I can. So let's just say I do this and I say no contact and I save that. And let's just say I didn't put complete here. I mean, first I want to try it without doing anything. I don't know if I can. No, it does not let me. And if I put in pending, I don't think it lets me either. Okay. So yeah, this will get fixed. You should be able to keep coming back here until you're ready to complete the two-way contact, because you didn't do this until you talked to them, obviously. And so until we get this, because right now you're right, it's waiting for these two here. Because I told those guys, hey, these two are required fields, but these can't be required until this is complete. I mean, it could be, you know what I'm saying? This should be not required. That way we can save it. Okay.
So that way, so there will be a change. Eventually they'll change that so that you don't have to go back and then enter all your attempts only once.
Right. I don't want you to have to save data like on sticky notes.
Good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, great.
Just so you can go back later and add that information, because you don't want to track that, right? You want to say, hey, I tried.
That's what I say. Then you're kind of trying to note that somewhere,
Yeah, we don't need to do that. Right.
Got it. No, thanks. That's a big help.
Yeah. We'll look into this, David, about case notes showing up. Those down there, those notes also showing up over the other side. Current in IWDS, under the exit, their sections wage information gets automatically entered from IBS. Yes. In this exit, wage information right now, like this is a scenario where we don't have wage match going on yet, or maybe it's not there yet because we haven't ran the wage match or whatever. But once it gets wage match, I don't have it. There's a little thing, a parentheses behind her, it shows up. It says like verified by IBIS or whatever, or verified by Swiss, I think it is, if it's out of state. So it'll tell that on this right behind that wage. There's going to be a little paragraph or parentheses. Okay. All right. Gets me right to the edge. Okay. I'm excited for you guys to get in this, bounce around. I'm also excited because there is a lot of stuff, functionality here. If you get into something, that's okay. Okay. If you get over here to plan because you want to mess around with adding a service, add a goal and objective, then adding the service, and then making that service date end or not end, feel free to do that. so that you can watch that transition change. You can do all of these credentials, MSGs, employment out education. This MSG is going to get upgraded right now. I don't know how far it goes, but I think there's some of these work, some of them don't. I believe like that one's going to be linked. But yeah, MSGs, you can add MSGs. There's a lot of this that works right now and is functionable. So don't, it's okay to do that. Don't, you can't break. I mean, if you break it, we want to know, but you can't break it. Employment records you can add, education records you can add. So you can do anything you want here in outcomes. And if you manipulate that plan on those services, like I said, then you can manipulate that transition date. I'll show you that real quick, real fast. If I change this, if I wanted to just see right now, this, and that's why it's kind of wide open right now in rules. If I wanted to see this exit, because remember there was 75 days. If I, wait, let me see my start date. Let me just start this a little sooner. And then let me end this a little sooner. 90 days, not for sure. Hopefully this will do it. I'm not using math in my head very quickly. All right, now let's go back and let's jump over to transition. Well, there's 12 days left. I missed it, but it'll say 0 days left is what it'll say if I would have hit that 12 days earlier. So you can mess around with those services if they, if they're obviously if the service is not complete, okay. If I go back and if I change that service, it's real nice because I got one service to mess around with here. If I go back on this service and I say it's open, so it's not complete, I save that. Now, if I go back to transition, hopefully the system is working very well. And boom, I got open service, so it's not complete. So now I'm back to that position I was before when we started this all out. So it's okay to mess around with this all you want to see how this credentials, transition, exit summary, outcomes, and activities work, and make sure, you put any comments you want in all this. And I love to see who bounced around in it. So we want to make sure we have eyes on this because down the road, somebody's going to say, did anybody look at this? And I'm going to say, yeah, these people looked at it. So thank you very much. Hopefully, I know it's fast, but hopefully, if you got questions, put them in here. We'll meet, we'll obviously be next week and I'll look at some of these questions and we'll talk about those questions on our next Thursday call also.
Okay,
Okay.
quick question now before you hang up.
You
With all
bet.
what you just showed us with the credential, MSG, and employment, if something was entered incorrectly, can we delete that information?
Yes, depending on what it is and what the rules are, yes. Okay.
Okay.
I try to say, I don't want to say that yes as a blanket yes, Robert. I want to just say, yes, we'll have a way. I got to see,
Awesome. Okay.
what that comes out. You bet. You bet. Because people make mistakes or people make date mistakes.
Correct. That's what I was wondering because it happens sometimes. I got to go in there and delete certain information.
Yeah.
Sometimes the MSG, which I have access to delete that information, but on the career advisor or career planner, they do not have that because they
Right.
have
And that's why I said with roles and security, you may not, you may not give that security or role to everybody. You may have
No,
a minute.
I'm not.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
So, but we're going to have a way to do that without having to escalate that all the way to
Right.
tech support
Certain
or
things
whatever.
I had to ask DCO to delete, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, hold on, this thing is too simple. Why I gotta ask you guys to do
correct.
it and I can fix it.
And we log everything, Robert. We log every single thing in a system, that activities that happen, and we're going to have a log view. In fact, that log view is getting built, and it's going to be down in here, and you'll be able to filter that to what happened where on career plan, on the outcomes. You'll be able to filter that log and see everything that happened over the course of the system getting updates and additions and inserts and deletes and all those kinds of things. So, and
Okay.
that'll always be there. So if somebody says, wait, why are we deleting those? We'll have a record of exactly what it looked like before the delete and the delete. Okay.
Good.
That gives you a little bit more flexibility in allowing, some data management, right? So,
Correct.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Once
too,
again,
Alan. Thank everybody. Everybody have a great rest of the day and week.
Yeah, you too.
Hey, Al, are you going to answer
Yes.
those other two questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the last one. Okay, jumping in there. Oh, I didn't see the last two. Will we be able to delete credentials, MSG's employment? That's what it was just asked. We just talked about.
No, I asked one way long time ago, and then David
I've
Taylor
been
had
calling. I'm
one.
so sorry. Where's yours at? I'm sorry. I thought I was keeping up. I'm so sorry.
Mine was at 1036,
I'm so sorry. Okay, let me see. 1036. You went.
and then
you went-
David's was very similar to mine, but it like a
Oh,
different
that's
version.
great. No, that's great. I'm definitely. I'm going back 1136. Okay, here we go. In the live deal platform, that one.
No, mine was at
Crystal,
1036.
here's yours. Here's yours.
Yeah.
For an example for CNAs, that one, the
Yeah.
credential license is for the Illinois Department of Public Health, regardless of which of our training provider entities is doing the training. Is the state adding those kinds of entities into the system so they are available in the drop down providing interest list? On the training, I think I'm going to answer this correctly. You don't even have to do that, because on the training, let me go over here real quick.
Because when you were adding the credential, it looked like it was going to pull from the providing entities, but no LWA.
Right, but
Department of Public Health.
who did it? Okay, so let me go in here. Whoops, let me go
Oh,
in here.
yeah, I see what you mean. So like it's not necessarily the training provider that's issuing the
Okay, let me
credential.
go in
Like
here.
PH or for an LPN, it's going to be the IDFPR.
Or for CDL, it's going to be Department of
Let's use
Transportation.
this. Let's
Secretary of
use this
State,
one
yeah.
here. Let's use this one here. Okay.
Yeah,
let's- So if it was right here, like what was one you said, like regulation, was that probably the one? Illinois Department, yeah, public health. Oh no, public health.
Yeah.
It would say it right here. Who issued it, right? The issuing body. Is that what you're asking for? And then that issuing. Go ahead.
Well, because the way that it's set up on the ETPL side, you have the providers who are entering their stuff, and they're saying, we're given a certificate of completion for this, we're given an associate's degree for that, whatever it is. But that training provider might be providing the CNA training, but they're not granting the license. The Department of Public Health is, but they don't verify that when they put it in the system.
Right
On the
here.
ETPL side, they're not putting it in there. So when you were adding a credential, you were selecting from the drop down or searching the providing entities. But
Yeah.
those places like that are not going to be tied to any LWA or
Right.
provider. So where are they coming from?
So here, I would have this. These probably don't have them all in here yet, but
I was just curious how that's
for LPT. There you go. Let's just say it was this. Okay, and the issuing by was this. I don't know if that's correct. Then that credential would come in automatically when that training was complete. Now you'd have to validate that, for example, that test was passed or whatever, right? And then it tells the issuing body.
But is that the
what you're asking?
provider's responsibility to put it in there, or that's what I'm asking?
There's a provider builds this training program out that says, in this program, you will get whatever you get here, right? They build that out. You assign that training program to an individual. They go take the training program. They complete it. We pull the credentials in. Now you have to validate them. Am I
Yeah.
missing something? Yeah.
No, see what, because
Like
not
the
saying,
training provider could claim that that's the license that the
Yeah.
program leads to, but you and I are like, the ETPL coordinators, ETPL, we may have to go in and validate or verify that really does lead to that credential.
Well, you have to validate with the customer by you getting documentation, right? Just because they said this prepares you and you can get your license doesn't mean that the customer participant actually obtain their license, right?
Well, the
Even if
participant
no matter
should
what they
give
put on
us
this,
that information. It shouldn't be totally on the provider. If that participant
Yeah.
is going
no,
to
it's not.
test it
This
at
is
that
this is
site,
this is the definition of the program. I'm just showing you where this stuff is stored. Then
Sure.
you sign. Okay, so now when we're over here, let me leave this. Now, if we're over here in customers, and let's go pick my person again, just because I know I can do that. Then when I'm in credentials, right?
Yeah.
And that program is complete, those credentials, say there's two, automatically get pushed into here. However, they can't be completed. You can't say they're actually attained until you go into them and upload documentation that says they're attained and say, yeah, we are a recognized credential, right? You can't, but the system will automatically put it in there from the training program because they're defined on the training program. And the assumption is if the customer completed that, then it would bring them over there. But they can't be counted until the career planner validates it.
Yeah, I get all that. I'm just saying when you clicked the add credential button, there was a drop down for the providing entity.
Yep.
The current providers, like let's say with community colleges, for example, all of them have CNA programs.
Okay.
They don't go into ETPL right now. And they may say in their
No,
description,
you don't, right. You're not going in there.
license.
You're not going in there. I just wanted to show you where the source of the data was. Okay. I should have done that probably because it has nothing to do with adding the credentials. Going to the ETPL program has nothing to do with it. If you go in here, and I just know this, don't worry about it. I should have looked at that one we just looked at because I don't know what the entity was. So I'm just doing this because I know real quick. Just assume this, follow with me. Just assume this was a community college that had a nursing program. And it's just, instead of saying accounting, when you put that in, it would say that nursing program, right? You'd pick it. Maybe they'd have a bunch of programs, right? Maybe they have LPN, a CNN, whatever, they may have different programs. You pick the program and it will know what credentials, it'll already actually be here, but it'll know which ones were earned. Okay. Like those credentials will show up. Okay.
Oh,
You see
if
that? They'll show up. See
no,
how
I see
click?
what you're saying. If I
Well,
could,
all you have to do is pick the training program.
you know
and
what
the
I think the question
and-
is, or at least sorry, I don't want to speak for everybody. For me, what I'm starting to now, I think I get what you guys are asking, Dave and Crystal. And so currently, Alan, IWDS, when we add credentials manually, it's I think the confusion is that the entity here is because on this particular screen is because it's asking, was the credential tied to, included in a training program that the participant was enrolled in that led to that credential. So the entity in this case is the training entity. But yeah, that's right. When we enter credentials manually, there is also a box where we have to put like the source, meaning the credentialing body. So like, was it CompTIA? Was it Secretary of State, Illinois Secretary
And we
of State?
can pull that in for you. I didn't realize you did it on the credential screen.
Yeah, that's what
we
I'm
will
seeing
definitely. Okay, so what we'll do is
source of the credential. It's so what you're explaining makes sense, but I think
let me show you though. I'm glad you caught that, Crystal. I'm glad you caught that. Okay, so when we go, what we'll do here is,
but then what's the credentialing body that like awarded?
Yeah.
Like, CompTIA.
I missed that. I'm sorry, I missed that. So when I select nursing, okay, and let's say one of them was the bachelor, one of them was a certificate or license, and I click that, okay, we'll bring in the body off the training program that was the issued that certificate. Now, if you're telling me that the issuing body on the outcome for the certificate on the training program is wrong, then we got a problem because we approved a program that had a wrong issuing body. Okay. And so I don't know if that happens today. Oh, you guys have to select it. That's right. We'll bring it in. We'll bring it in from that training program.
Well, see, that's what that's the key point that I'm saying. The entities that we currently have as approved providers on the ETPL for their programs in IWDS, any one of those can provide training that gives them a certificate of completion, whatever, but then that student has to go to another place to take a licensing test that doesn't have anything to do with the provider in order to get that final credential. So I'm asking, where does that information come
let's go back here. No, okay, and it looks like to me that in your case, this is probably more like you're used to. Whatever that providing entity was, say that was what? Nursing, or I don't know what that providing entity is, if it's Department of Regulation or what that is. I thought it was Department of Regulation, but health something. But you put that provider in here, and you put license in here, right? I don't think I think that's how you would do it because it's outside of the training program, right? It's outside of the training service.
Well, I
Isn't
mean,
that
well, for example, CDLs, most of the CDL providers, the cost of the license is rolled up in their training, but the person has to go to the Department of Transportation to take the licensing test to get it. So you've got a
But-
provider who's entering stuff about their training program in there, but they don't have the responsibility of putting, oh, their,
right? Like it's Secretary of State or whatever is where they get their license, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
make
just
sure I
trying to
get this
tie
right.
the pieces together and know where they're coming from.
Yeah, let me get this right. Okay, so a CDL program, which is not even actually necessary to get a license for CDL, but let's just say we give a CDL program service because most people don't have their own rig to drive around to get practiced or whatever. But let's just say we give that service out and they complete that training. The license is not even part of that training. So you'll get a credential probably for what? Completion and certificate of completion. And then you'll get a credential for the license when they get the license, right? You'll get 2 credentials, right? Let me follow this through. I'm following this through. Like if it's a CDL, you'll get probably 2 credentials, one for certificate of completion for the course or whatever. And then let's assume they get their certificate or their driver's license for the commercial driver's license. And let's just say they get that, then you'll have another credential for that. Is that correct?
Yeah, or some people would count it as like an MSG and then a credential.
Oh, the MSG on the course, and then that's cool too. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you get a credential and it's the driver's license. Then that's outside of the training that you took. It's not that provider didn't give it to you, obviously, because they're not
The
state.
training provider pay for them to go get that testing
Yeah.
done.
That,
And
yes.
the question is, Al, once that person get that certification of completion, on that, would there be an additional box to say they also attained this credential from the Illinois motor vehicle as a secondary to show where they got it? So it'd be 2. What you're showing here is something different. You're saying no, but actually it's yes. But we want something to be able to show they got the certification of completion and the license issued from the Illinois. So is there a way you could add both of them into this element here?
Why couldn't I add 2 credentials?
Because they finished the training as required and they went outside of their training facility to go get that credential. That's where you're not
What does
catching
it matter
us.
if there's 2 rows on here? Like if this was and some people don't even, I just heard don't even do that. They put that in an MSG, but let's just say this was the certificate of completion for the training program for 160 Driving Academy, right? And this was a CDL from the state
Illinois
Secretary of
motor
State.
vehicle. Can we type in Illinois motor vehicle? Because that CDL, that provider is already on the ETAPL list. We want to be able to add where they got that other credential that is not in the system. Can that happen? Yes or no?
Or it sounds like if in the training program screen, let's say it's a computer training program and it can lead to a Cisco CCNA, CompTIA, let's say it's the CompTIA A+ certification. When we want to add that credential, it is tied to the training, but the training provider doesn't have the authority, obviously, to grant them the CompTIA license.
Exactly.
CompTIA does.
Yes.
So, but if that's in the training program description screen, maybe that could also be, maybe that will also be imported. Maybe we just have to find a training program in UAT that might have a CDL or certificate like that. Maybe that would import that body. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just asking who's responsible for putting those in there. Like, are we going to be able to type it, or is it going to be a drop down? Is it going to be the state entering it and saying, okay, yeah, anything by the Illinois Department of Public Health is the Illinois Department of Public Health. We don't have to have them as an approved provider.
I think
Right.
if you wanted to do it in one, I think if you wanted to do it in one, we could probably do it through this. But if I could say, okay, this is the training program that was completed, okay, and then we could have the have it like this, right? So any other, you see this? So this is the program. This is a providing entity. This is the training program. Okay. Are there any other credentials? Yes. Licensed, recognized by state? Yes. Commercial state driver's license? Yes. And then I could have the date obtained. I could select a file, a driver's license copy or whatever. And I did that all in one. This one right here.
Oh, there it is. Providing entity. Okay.
Yeah. So if
So
it work like that, then you understand what what Crystal was asking and Warren and
no,
myself. We all
but kind of,
have
I know what you're saying, but kind of like, I think you, when we had that, when I did this just now with the 160 CDL, and is there anything else? And I said the commercial driver's license certificate, a driver's license, I added that. I think you want to see, for whatever reason, the issuing body here. Secretary of State, right?
correct.
I think you want to
Mhm.
also see that, even though we saw it for a minute there when we added it. I think you want to see that here.
Yeah, I mean, that would help if it's not
Yep.
too heavy
Yep.
lift.
No,
'cause
I got that,
It would
guys.
be
I-
helpful because then we had something to look at from the customer side and the career advisor side to say we knew where you get this from. We have a starting point.
Yep.
And I think just from a reporting and even
Yeah, I think what it's doing, I
monitoring
think,
standpoint
yeah,
too,
I
when the
think in
monitors say, well,
here,
this is industry
yeah,
recognized, quote unquote, that would be a way to show like, yeah, this is an industry recognized entity providing this.
so
certification.
this is the CDL refresher program you completed. And then when we go here, just want to make sure you see this. And I say, yeah, I'm also checking this. You see how this, it doesn't say state of Illinois or Illinois state, Secretary of State, right? And if nursing is to be something else and CPA would be something else, or you know what I'm saying? And I think you guys want to see that here.
Right? Would they?
It says
they
state or
be
federal government.
additional,
but you
besides
wanna be
what you see
specific.
here for nursing and for anything in the health field that required testing, like Microsoft testing and requirement
Yeah,
and
right.
stuff, where they gotta-
Whatever the issuing body is, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We can do that. We can add that. I mean, it kind of shows it all here, but it's just not showing the issuing body. I think that's the deal. But that's how you add the extra credential, that license itself. Yeah. Hopefully it answers that.
I have a quick question on that last thing there, because like they brought up like the CompTIA and Cisco and stuff like that. Where
Yeah.
there might be people who sit for credentialing that's above and beyond whatever their training was.
Sure.
How exactly would you, because it's not related, is it related to their training? It's not tied to it because it's not part of the bill that we're getting from the trainer.
Yeah,
The
the
training
way I would do
provider.
that, yeah, here's the way I kind of showed that before. And I'll do it again real quick. I had accounting as a degree and it was obtained from Lincoln Land Community College, right? And then I added a project manager
PMP.
record. It could be a CPA too, right? I could do accounting, that's done. And then a year later or 6 months later, a lot of times they do their CPA, sit for the CPA test. And it has nothing to do with completing that course. I mean, it does because that was kind of a prerequisite, right? But they're really, what you do then in that situation is it's outside of that training service. And then you put, whoever issued that CPA And then you say, and I don't know if it's is that industry recognized certificate or is that a certification? I think it's a certificate, right? CPA.
Yeah.
I think it's a CPA goes into that. And then you can also say, was this employer funded, other grant, scholarship? Because this is outside, right?
Yeah.
What those things, and you can, you can just put those in there and upload there, and you got the credential in there. That's outside of anything to do with that course that we took. Does it make sense? Hopefully it does.
Yeah, but then, so like say for a nurse who completes their courses in May, but then doesn't sit for this for the testing until the next program year, in August, would you tie that to the original training program or do it that way?
You could tie it to the original like we just did, like it happened. We could come back in here and tie it to the original. Or we would just add another credential there. I don't know that it matters.
So with
Okay.
the LPNs and the RNs, I think Joe maybe speaking to, yeah, they usually don't do the NCLEX until probably the next year. So yeah, I guess that would make sense to add that, because once they do the NCLEX, then after that it's a whole graduation, and then that's when they're on the Illinois website to become a licensed nurse. So that should be tied into the original training.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense to do it that way, but I was just wondering if I had a case manager that did it the other way, is it going to screw something up, or will it just be? Would that something you would?
I don't think it'll screw
Have
anything
your-
up either way. If you
Okay.
open that and do it, or you add another credential app or add a credential row after. Either way.
And
I got a few
here's a
things
quick
though.
question before we sign off. How would this work if it's post-exit, where they got their credential after they exit? Will we
most
still
of the
have
time
to come?
that happens, right, Robert?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Just come back in here and add the credential.
even though they exit.
Yeah. You'll see, remember we had those in occurrences and activity when we had it down in here in these post exits. We had down here the ability to pump in a credential right there. Can you see that? Are there any new credentials to track?
Okay,
Yes.
we're gonna come back to that because I'd like to see how that is evolve into when we get ready to put it in, if that
Yeah, sure.
location is not on the provider listing.
Yep. Okay. Good conversation. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Fortunately, I got
Well,
another
thank
meeting.
you too, Al.
And excited for you guys to get in this thing.
Yeah. Thanks for staying on a little longer though, Al. That was good to
Oh,
hammer
I
that out.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Sorry I
Roy,
missed that
thank
first-
you for even saying that, because yes, we appreciate you taking the time with us.
Yeah,
That
thank
was
you.
good that we got that hammered out. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a great rest of your